I'd like to give you guys some background on how I got into professional wrestling. I may have touched on it, can't quite remember how in-depthly I got into it, but just a quick background. And maybe you have similar stories of how you got into pro wrestling, whether as a fan or as something more. And feel free to leave comments on this, whether it's YouTube or Facebook. I'd love to hear how you guys got involved in this crazy world of professional wrestling. I was young, I'd say this was around 2004, 2005, so young age, but still not as young as some of my contemporaries who got into it much, much earlier. Must have been around, I'd say 11 or so, 11, maybe 12 years old. I was flipping through the channels at home and I stumbled across the main event of SmackDown. And I've never actually verified it, but I just feel like I'm 99% sure. It was a main event with The Undertaker, Booker T, JBL, and Eddie Guerrero. I was immediately captivated by this. Had no idea what it was, had no context whatsoever. First time I stumbled across anything remotely close to sports entertainment. But I only got like a 5-minute glimpse, reason being it wasn't necessarily allowed in the household. So basically if it wasn't educational or Greek, we should stay away from it. We had a family movie night on weekends, but beyond that it was fairly strict in terms of what we were allowed to watch. A couple of weeks go by, I think, and I stumble across it again. And this time, I think this was leading up towards WrestleMania, where John Cena defeated JBL. I forget exactly what WrestleMania that is, forgive me. But I just remember these certain parts to it. I still hadn't yet watched an entire show, just these little segments of 3 to 5 minute clips here and there. I saw this segment where JBL gave Eddie's mother a heart attack. I saw a clip where John Cena and JBL were having this verbal confrontation in the ring, and John Cena uses a pair of scissors to cut JBL's tie off. So these little bits and pieces sort of began to grow and stayed in my mind. And they've stuck with me this long. It's now 2019, so many years, 15 years later essentially, and I still remember these little clips that I caught when watching. Long story short, because I'm risking going on a tangent right now, it became a habit of mine to sneak and watch episodes of SmackDown. We didn't have cable, so SmackDown on UPN, and then the CW was all I really had access to. And then it just grew from there. I became obsessed with it. I don't know how much of it was just because it was forbidden in the household, even though it was never explicitly stated that pro wrestling was forbidden. But I know I was captivated by the production value and the fireworks and these the cool promos and the music that they use, and obviously the action and the characters, guys like Eddie Guerrero, Batista, Rey Mysterio. There's a list of guys who were on SmackDown that really it blew my mind, honestly. And it just continued to grow from there. And I was in high school and I'd be completely distracted in class, even though I was a very good student, of just fantasizing about, making my entrance on the ramp and all these crazy things, having these moments. Started getting into the action figures, even though it was maybe a bit late. I know my mom and brother made fun of me a bit for buying action figures when I was approaching, and even through high school. And the video games, and then fast forward to college, my sophomore year. I had an internship that was paying. I, through a friend on Facebook, stumbled across Will Ferrara, who's now with ROH's Facebook profile. I reached out to him. At the time, he was training with Warriors of Wrestling in Staten Island. I got the information. I ended up training at Warriors of Wrestling that summer, and it continued for about a year and a half before the school closed, and I had to focus on my senior year of college, and I was working 2 jobs. It was a whole thing. And then in 2014, the end of 2014, the school reopened. I had a full-time job now. I graduated, so I was actually able to get back into it. And fast forward again to today, I'm on this Odyssey. That's the long story short version of how I got into professional wrestling. So again, love to hear how you got into it, whether it was through family members, by accident, and just what your earliest memories of it are, and where you are today with it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another episode of My Odyssey. I'm Andros. hope to see you again next time.